CCW celebrating Cinco de Mayo at COYO Taco in Miami. And right now we have one of the talented women's wrestlers, Renee Michelle. She's competed nationally, internationally, and now she's just competed down here in South Florida. What's it like being in Miami, competing down here in South Florida?
Competing in South Florida, I absolutely love it. I couldn't have any more better experience. It is nice to feel back at home in Miami, Florida, and the people here, they're absolutely great.
What made you decide to become a professional wrestler?
You know, funny story is that, I never grew up watching it as a kid. I was actually approached. I grew up doing martial arts since I was little, since the age of 4. So when a group of my friends dragged me to my first wrestling show, I was approached, hey, would you ever thought about becoming a wrestler? And I was very skeptical about it, but, I tried it out, and ever since then I have the wrestling bug, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Where did you grow up?
I was born in Washington, D.C. I was raised in South Beach, Miami, Florida, and I currently, right now, live in Fredericksburg, Virginia, but I still love to represent Miami and Washington, D.C., because both of them is my home to me.
Where did you go to high school? Did you go to high school down in South Florida?
No, actually, I went to high school in Woodbridge Senior High School, and I went to college at George Mason University.
What did you get your degree in?
Fine arts.
How important was it for you to get that college degree?
It was very more important. The reason for that is because, in order to get that good job, you have to get that good degree, so you can be able to afford, the stuff that you want to buy, to be able to live on your own, and to be able to do the things, grow up as a young adult.
Now, you majored in fine arts, so were you always involved in theater and acting and different things like that?
I was an artist, so I love to draw, but I did do acting. I did acting with Bella Talent. It was located in Maryland.
The drawing, was that something you always did even as a kid? You always had a talent for that, and do you do any of that still today?
When I was a kid, I always loved to doodle. I always loved to draw, whether it was paint or oil pastel or, Japanese animation. But, as I grew older, of course, the little talent decreases, but once in a while I catch myself doodling. But other than that, like I said, in order to get that good job, you have to have that degree.
Did you play any sports when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, well, besides martial arts, I was also in cheerleading. I did soccer, I did track, so I was very athletic, growing up.
How did you get your start in professional wrestling?
Like I said,
where?
Like I said, I was approached, by Dwayne Gill during the time back then. Gilbert Goldberg did a skit back in the day. So when he approached me, he was like, hey, I ever thought about becoming a professional wrestler? I'm like, oh, no. I don't want to give you up. But, he was very determined, and he was very adamant about it. He wouldn't take no for an answer. I gave it a shot. Since then, I loved it. I had my first debut was March 29, 2013. It was in Hagerstown, Maryland for Big Time Wrestling, and like the pager said, you never forget your first match, and I was tag team with him and John Rambo.
Where have you wrestled since then, and what groups?
Oh gosh, there's so many groups, but I have mostly wrestled up and down the East Coast. I have also wrestled in California, Canada, and I also wrestled in Japan, which I was representing Marvelous, which is owned by Chigusa Nagio, the legendary Chigusa Nagio, who is the founder of Gaia. Her and Lioness Asuka were longtime rivals and tag team partners known as the Crush Girls back in the day. And also, not too long ago, I just came back from India, representing the Great Khali.
Did you ever think when you're starting that you're going to be able to get into this profession and travel to all these great places?
I never thought about it, but like I said, I caught the wrestling bug. I wanted to prove to myself, but let alone to others, for someone who never grew up in it, that could actually do it if you really put the time, the dedication, the ambition. You need to have all of that onto one, and think wrestling 24/7, 360 days throughout the year, constantly. So you always want to find a way to perfect your craft. Like I said, I try to incorporate the Japan style with the American style, with the lucha style, and also incorporate my martial arts into it. So I kind of want to be like a hybrid in a way, but be able to develop. And like I said, right now we're having this whole diva revolution from women from all over the world that's not the stereotypical pretty face, but also these pretty faces. They're women that actually have a wrestling background, to a martial arts background, and able to have their style more gifted and crafted into a very aggressive way.
You have a beautiful look, but there's more to it than the looks.
Yeah.
And you also bring it. How did that develop for you, and who are some of the people that have helped you be able to do that in the ring? Because when people are watching you work, like saying, this girl can go, she can bring it, and she could take it.
Well, you know, I always say never judge a book by its cover, because you'll never know what you get yourself into. You know, like I said, like I was able to be trained in MCW by RJ Myers, and also known as Tyler Hilton as well. RJ Myers known as the Bruiser, Tyler Hilton known as Dean, and then to be able to be trained by them in America, and then have Chikusa Nagio come to you and be able to represent her over in Japan for 3 months, and her still wanting you to come back and stay longer in Japan, which is a great honor in itself. You know, what better way to be one of her first top American students to be representing a company, and especially a woman such of her status. And then, you know, of course, to be able to learn from other people such as like Ricardo Rodriguez, known as Chimera, you know, learning the lucha style as well. With all of them combined together, I couldn't thank them even more. You know, it teaches me a lot. It teaches me how to perfect my craft, be more aggressive, be more assertive, you know, and execute it very correctly and thoroughly.